Ukrainian troops blew up Russia's most advanced T-90M tank with a drone strike dropped on it. The Ukraine Weapons Tracker OSINT group has posted a video purportedly showing one of Russia's most advanced tanks being destroyed using a drone. A T-90M joins the turret tossing competition. A Russian T-90M tank was destroyed by RKG-3 HEAT grenades adapted to be dropped from Ukrainian drones, the OSINT group said in a tweet. The T-90M tank, which is seen bursting into a fireball, reportedly was struck in Ukraine's Donbas region. A Russian tank was likely hit by an anti-tank mine, after which a Ukrainian operator of an R-18 strike drone dropped several RKG-3 anti-tank heat grenades on the T-90M. As a result, the ammunition set detonated, and the turret was torn off from the tank by a huge explosion. The T-90M ProRiv is an improved version of the T-90 Vladimir tank and was first publicly revealed in 2017. The first batch of these modernized T-90M tanks was delivered to Russian troops in the spring of 2020. The ProRiv has received a principally new turret that differs from the serial-produced module and a more powerful engine. The ProRiv is outfitted with a new multi-channel sighting system that allows employing weapons at any time of day or night, and, as its major advantage, it can exchange data with other vehicles in real time. The newest Russian tank considerably surpasses its T-90 predecessor by its combat efficiency while keeping such advantages of the previous model as exceptional reliability and the minimum amount of maintenance in its operation. Russia lost hundreds of troops and at least 5 tanks over Christmas, according to Ukrainian officials. The General Staff of the Ukrainian Armed Forces reported on Monday that at least 102,600 Russian soldiers have died since Russia launched its invasion of Ukraine in February. About 550 of those soldiers died between Christmas Day and Boxing Day, according to the report. 5 Russian tanks were also destroyed during that period, it said, adding to a tally that has topped 3,000. It comes after Russian President Vladimir Putin said that the vast majority of Russians were willing to sacrifice their lives for their country. As for the most 99.9% of our citizens, our people that are ready to sacrifice everything for the motherland, it doesn't strike me as unusual, Putin said in an interview during a Christmas Day broadcast from Moscow. But it just reassures me yet again that Russia is a special country and it has special people. He was also dismissive of those who acted against his goals, saying they didn't act like true patriots. Putin also said Russia was ready for talks to end the war in Ukraine even as the country faced more attacks from Moscow. Russia is prepared to negotiate some acceptable outcomes with all the participants of this process, Putin said in a state television interview, according to the Associated Press. It's not us who refuse talks, it's them, he said. That has been claimed repeatedly by the Kremlin in recent months as Russia's invasion lost momentum. Meanwhile, Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky warned his people not to let down their guard as the year comes to a close, because Putin will be trying to compensate for his losses. There are a few days left in this year. We must be aware that our enemy will try to make this time dark and difficult for us, Zelensky said in his nightly address. I know that the darkness will not prevent us from leading the occupiers to their new defeats, but we must be prepared for any scenario. Since October, Russian forces have largely focused on constructing defensive positions along much of the front line in Ukraine, British's Ministry of Defense reported on Monday. This includes laying additional fields of anti-tank and anti-personnel mines, almost certainly going beyond Russian doctrinal guidelines, the ministry said in its latest intelligence update. Minefields only present an effective obstacle for trained troops if covered by observation and fire. A major challenge for the Russian forces will likely be a shortage of surveillance assets and trained personnel to effectively monitor large areas of the new minefields. A press officer for the 14th Brigade, the only brigade that has fought on all major front lines in the country since the start of Russia's invasion, joked that it's in the Ukrainian nature to collect and hoard prized possessions. It's not always as easy as merely asking another brigade for its identical trophy tank or vehicle. In the Donetsk region, Vadim Ustimenko, a member of a tank unit in Ukraine's 25th Airborne Assault Brigade, said he has changed tanks 6 or 7 times in the past 7 months because they often need repair. He's now fighting an AT-80 tank among the best models in Ukraine's arsenal. The 25th Brigade was the first unit into the city of Izium after Russian forces hastily retreated from the Kharkiv region in September, leaving behind an extraordinary amount of tanks and armored personnel carriers. Speaking about just the tanks, there were indeed a lot of them, but very few were operational, Ustimenko said. Those that you could just start up or only needed a few minutes of work, you could count on one hand. Those that needed some repair but would eventually run was another 30% probably. And the last 50% was junk that requires a whole lot of work. For the tanks that were in bad condition, some could be donors of needed parts, said another soldier in Ustimenko's unit. Because Ukraine's weapons largely date to the Soviet Union, a tank that's more than 30 years old could be improved with a spare part from a seized Russian model that's just 5 years old. The soldiers in Ustimenko's unit said they occasionally communicate with other brigades about spare parts.